Hello, 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 and welcome to the Core Dog Experience. Here I talk Ohio State Buckeyes and college sports, talking Ohio State Buckeyes, good or bad in this case. I talk Ohio State Buckeyes going live this time. Snap reaction following the Ohio State Oregon game. So if you're looking at this for the folks that have seen some of my other stuff. I'm trying to do more here in 2024, trying to do some more live streaming. So hopefully you guys will start picking up on this and start punching in and checking me out as I go live, commenting on some other stuff. But yeah, it's hard to do a live one. This is my second one, so still learning the ropes on how to do some of the live streaming and stuff. But yeah, I was hoping to do this one coming off a victory as opposed to a loss. This one is hard to take. It's another one of just hard to take because Ohio State, they be right there every time. They be right there, and something always comes down to one or two things. Something doesn't go our way. And this is another one of those instances where stuff just didn't go our way down the stretch there. A lot of it's a hard one to take. This is a hard one to take. We going to Austin. Knew it was going to be tough. Always a tough place to play, but I honestly thought Ohio State would be able to go in there and pull out a close, hard-fought victory. And they almost did it. They almost did it and went out there and was able to close the show. Um, it was nip and tuck all the way. A lot of Ohio State fans. It's the oh my man, it's a hard one. It is a hard one. Um, 32-31. Number two goes down to number three at their house. Instant classic, I would say. Um, Again, not the outcome I thought was going to happen. I thought Ohio State would be able to control the line of scrimmage. Some of the on both sides of the ball, I thought we would be able to do it. Um, Took a hit offensively. Just when our offensive line was starting to come together, I thought that was going to be a big difference in this game. Offensively, I thought we were going to be able to control Oregon's line a little bit better than what we did. I think running wise, if we just would have stuck with some more runs and just went at them, we should have just went right at them. I don't think we were as consistent. We had a lot of rushes. I'm gonna bring up the stats a little bit later on, but some of those instances, I think we just could have leaned on Trevion and Krishan just a little bit more. Um, and just why did we lose? How did we lose this game? Um, a lot of folks will tell you right off the bat, our defense, which has been stout, which was getting better. I think our defense, in particular, that first half, which was a concern of mine heading into the game, despite everyone they had coming back. And it wasn't so much the linebacker play that people were saying that we were soft on. Wasn't so much some of the defensive line. Wasn't even so much the pressure. Even though we really didn't get pressure on Gabriel. My biggest concern coming into this game was our secondary. And I started feeling that way following some of the earlier games, and in particular that first half against Michigan State. that's when it became real problematic for me that our secondary has issues. You wanted to chalk it up to we're just playing soft right now because the level of competition. Jim Knowles ain't showing his hand yet. He ain't showing everything we need to show. Um, so we gonna work on some stuff and have these guys ready to go when some bigger competition comes around. Thought we did a little bit better against Iowa, but again, it's Iowa. They got a little bit better offense, but they're a running team. We shut down, Caleb Johnson, and they really couldn't throw the ball against our corners. Even in those games, even in that Iowa game, we had soft coverage in the first half until we were able to lock them down some. So coming into this game, that was my primary concern: was our secondary going to be able to hold up? Because Dylan Gabriel, he's an experience, and they said coming into the game, he's one of the most percentage-wise, he's one of the most accurate passers in college right now, and he did not disappoint. And it's either to throw to folks and make completions when they wide open. The receivers were open pretty much that whole first half. Evan Stewart, he talked the talk. He talked the talk. He walked the walk. Denzel Burke, our secondary, I don't. And it's not like they were out scheming us. They were just running by us. One thing we've known about Oregon for the past several years now is Oregon can run. They got some boys who can run fast. And they torched our secondary. They got behind our secondary with ease. Denzel Burke was victimized throughout that whole first half. He did not do himself any. Everyone has a bad day. I mean, everyone's bound to have a bad day sooner or later. Someone just has your number, a person just has your number, or whatever. They had Denzel Burke's number today. He didn't have a good showing that whole first half. And those boys, they can run. They got some speed, and chalk it up to Evan Stewart. He talked the talk, and he backed it up because he had a big first half. He burned Denzel Burke on several occasions. If you can talk and back it up, it's our job to shut you up. We shut Caleb up last week. We couldn't do it this week. Evan had him a big game, and arguably against our best cornerback. Some would argue Denzel Burke is our best cover corner on the team, and he got lit up that first half. Our defense, they just, I'm not going to say a smoke and mirrors, because I do think our defense has vastly improved, but and why we brought Jim Knowles in the first place, like we just gave up chunk plays throughout that whole first half. And it reminded me of how our defense played, 2-3 years ago, and variety of reason we brought Jim Knowles in the first place to stop that type of stuff from happening. And like I said, Michigan State sort of exposed our secondary a couple weeks ago, and that was from a quarterback that was not as experienced as Dylan Gabriel. Michigan State does not have the weapons that Oregon has, and he lit us up that first half, did Aiden Childs. So that was my concern coming into this game, is how our secondary was going to hold up, especially if we couldn't get to Dylan Gabriel. And we were not really able to get to him on a consistent basis. We always got there, seemed like one step too late. And I say it's a game of inches, one step too late, and he was able to get off the throws, and he was accurate. Didn't make the mistakes this time like he did in that Michigan State game, and he was on point. Their offense was on point. Another thing, looking at maybe why we lost, we were just, that's on the defensive side of the ball. We couldn't get we got some stops. We got some help from them. Defensively side of the ball, we could have short some stuff, but we got some work to do defensively. Mind you, we're probably not going to see that good of an offense for the remainder of the season, unless we see them again in the Big Ten championship game. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much. Our next big offensive test could very well be Penn State, or if they keep rolling the way they're rolling, we're looking at an Indiana squad that can put up some points too. So unless we shore up some stuff defensively, the secondary could be they're going to have their work cut out for them. They're going to have to come up with some different schemes. And if our front ain't getting to the quarterback, we may have to dial up more blitzes. I know we like relying on the rushman. Well, the rushman ain't really get the Gabriel this game. They let him back in. He was comfortable in the pocket for pretty much the whole game. You don't want to lose. But I'm not shocked by the losses. It was a competitive game, 32-31, number 3 team in the nation. Had a chance to win it at the end, and we're going to touch on some of that. But the defense definitely let us down on one of the things on why did Ohio State lose to Oregon. The defense, you can look at the defense and Denzel Burke, especially Denzel Burke. First time we gone into the half down, 22-21. Ohio State's always been a second half team. Maybe that was their downfall. Not being totally prepared for a second half game because they haven't really been in one this year. But they came out, they held Oregon scoreless that third quarter, and you thought they were able to do a little bit more damage in that third quarter. But Oregon's at home, and to their credit, they did what they needed to do. Oregon is running Georgia's defensive scheme. True, but Georgia's defense ain't Alabama let Georgia up. Our defense, I don't know what Jim Knowles was doing that. A lot of this season, I don't know what Jim Knowles has been doing defensively in terms of our secondary. And I thought our secondary let us down, in particular that first half. And maybe the dude just has Denzel Burke's number. He had a very bad outing. Everyone's allowed one bad day, and it was a very bad time for Denzel Burke to have one of his worst defensive performances. Other reasons we can look to, that's on the defensive side of the ball: poor secondary play, not able to get a pass rush against Dylan Gabriel. You would have thought we would have been able to generate a little bit more up the middle with Tyleek Williams getting up the middle, but where was Sawyer? Where was JTT on the pass rush? Where were our rushman package? We couldn't generate any pass rush against Gabriel. He was pretty comfortable back there. On the offensive side of the ball, that's a very good chance. Who's going to beat them? Penn State? Realistic one. Thanks for the question. Who's going to beat these two teams? Honestly, 32-31. Penn State struggled with USC today. Like I said, Indiana, they could be a tricky team. They've been in the past. They've always, like I've said in some of my other recordings, Indiana, they either always have a really good offense and a not so good defense, or vice versa. Their defense is really good and their offense has been all right. But they got a coach there now. He's very brash. He's very, very confident, and he has those guys playing. Indiana could be problems. I do think they're on Ohio State's schedule for later on in the year, so we'll see how that goes. Penn State, Like I said, they struggled against SC, and we got to go to Happy Valley this year. We could very well see Oregon again, but Ohio State has to take care of some business, and they got some stuff they need to straighten out in terms of their secondary, because their secondary, I think, to this point in the season has been probably their worst unit. We all thought it was going to be the offensive line, and honestly, I think the offensive line has done wonders this year as compared to last year. It's the secondary that I've been concerned about. I don't know if it's the secondary schemes or just the soft coverage that they've been playing these last few weeks. That is my primary concern. And I don't know if they're going to face another team that can throw the ball the way Oregon can throw the ball, that has the speed that Oregon has. Like I said, Indiana could be scary. Again, we got to go to Happy Valley, which is always a tough place to play, and they're undefeated. And then, of course, at the end of the year, Michigan can't throw the ball. If Michigan could throw the ball, we could talk about Michigan. They can't throw the ball. They're getting by on smoke and mirrors right now unless they develop a pass game. But who's going to beat Ohio State and Oregon? I could very well see them matching up again in the Big Ten championship game. And I can, even if Ohio State were to lose that game, if you're only 2 losses or 2, could potentially be the number 1 team by the end of the year in Oregon. Are you going to keep them out of a 12-team playoff? I don't think so. But Ryan Day, he needs some stuff he needs to work out and straighten up. Like I said, the defense did not have a good day today. And that leads us to Jim Knowles. We brought him in here to fix the defense because a couple years ago, we were giving up those chunk plays, and Jim Knowles was supposed to fix that. Against the lesser competition, yeah, Ohio State has looked really good. I mean, against the second half, they looked really good. They've helped some stops. Of course, Oregon helped us out some, missing a field goal, a botched snap. But they helped Oregon scoreless that third quarter. And then, of course, they broke down again in the fourth quarter to let Oregon go down the field. But Jim Knowles was supposed to fix some of those chunk plays that teams were getting on us a couple years ago. And I won't say he's a joke here like some of our fans are wont to do, because, our fans are brutal. It don't take much for our fans to turn on folks, and our fans are brutal, and they trying to run. It don't take long. It don't take long, and so I won't say Jim Knowles is a joke. I do think he has shored up our defense a whole lot, but he has work to do with our secondary. Our secondary has not looked good to me pretty much all year, regardless of who we played. They just haven't been what I thought they were going to be. I thought they're going to be one of our stronger units, especially with the addition of Caleb Downs. Now, he's been playing lights out. It's our coverage. That's what's getting me. It's our coverage in the secondary, and then letting these receivers run support. They're there. It's scheme-wise, I don't know what we're doing sometimes for our secondary. Offensively, like going back to why some of the things we lost this game, our third down. I'm going to bring up the stats a little bit later on, but offensively, our third down, we were atrocious on third down. One of probably our worst third down performances of the year. And again, we know we're going up probably against one of the better defenses we're going to face. Some would say Iowa may have a better defense, but Iowa has no offense to back up their defense. So their defense can get worn down at times. Oregon has an offense that can complement their defense, and we knew this was going to be a tough place to play, even without one of their primary defensive players playing in Birch. But we were all that good on third down. And again, I attest some of that to the play calling on the early downs, not trusting our running game enough. And again, some of that may have been because we lost 2 of our offensive linemen. With Otegra did come back, but we lost Simmons fairly early in the game. And despite all of the penalties he's prone to get, he was right there next to Jackson. He was probably our best offensive lineman. So and he's probably done for the year with one of those non-contact injuries, and those are always the worst ones. You rather, if you're going to get injured, you'd rather have someone roll into your leg or something. But when you go down and it's a non-contact injury, he's probably done for the year. I think our backups that did come in, I think they held their own adequately enough. But all in all, third down, we are 4 for 12 on third down. And of course, we had the one turnover. Judkins don't normally turn it over, but the guy just made a good play and ripped it out of his hand. Then, of course, that little onside, non-onside kick where he just drilled our dude. He tried to get out the way, couldn't manage it. I think it caught him off guard. Gave him a short field, and they were able to go down and get some points out of it. But other than, not to say that's why we lost the game, because you look at the stats. Let me bring up the stats. Where we going? You look at the stats. You think stat-wise, outside of and I'm gonna count that as an additional turnover when they kicked it on, and were able to cover the kickoff after it hit our player. I'm gonna count that as a turnover, plus Judkins' fumble. So we basically had 2 turnovers, but we still had the time of possession. I said, even being atrocious on third down. So stat-wise, you would have thought we would have won the game. And I said we lost by the 1 point, and we're in position to win it. And we'll talk about that pass interference call. We were in position to win it. Despite some of the stuff that went against us, we were in position to win that game near the end with a few seconds to go. Some things did not go our way, and it is what it is. But looking at the stats, going into a hostile environment, I thought all in all, Ohio State held their own. Say 33 rushing attempts. It's hard to look at the stats and say we had a bad game offensively. Some of the clock management at the end of the game, you could say also attributed to us losing, because we did not give ourselves time. Again, that penalty really messed up. That penalty really messed us up. It was hard to overcome that penalty, but still we let a lot of clock run. We let a lot of time run off the clock. Once it got under a minute, we probably could have handled that just a little bit better to give ourselves a better opportunity to overcome some stuff. But clock management down the end, not relying on our defense, definitely let us down. I think it's in particular that first half. And this Oregon's a good team, and you couldn't have some of the mistakes we had in that game. But again, but the big one is Jim Knowles in the defense. That's what I'm gonna keep coming back to for this particular game on why we lost. You can't limit it to just one play, because like Ryan Day had said, given that pass interference call against Jeremiah, you can't let it get to that point, and Ohio State did. And again, so if you have seen any of other stuff, I always try to get stuff from the fans' point of view, and you can imagine they were just letting the defense have it. On any social media site you went to, they were letting our defense have it. And this is just one of the many knocks against our defense that our fans are want to do once they are unhappy with stuff. They gonna let their feelings be known or what they're unhappy about. And our defense definitely was the ridicule and the butt of jokes for today following this game. And of course, we can't talk about big games and Ohio State's inability to win some of these games without talking about Ryan Day and his record in some of these games. And again, as soon as they lost, this popped right up. Ryan Day in big games. And some of this is him. Some of the play calling is him. And some of it, you hate to say, we just don't get some of the calls. I'm still going to go back to that targeting call against Georgia that was overturned. Was it? I'm always going to go The Michigan folks got the fourth down, whether the JT Parrott get it or not. The targeting call for me in that Georgia game was should have been targeting. Big games, like very few calls go our way. You know, thought there's going to be a little change this time up when we got that when the Ohio State's first drive of the game where they didn't call it an interception and Herbert ran up there and they ran the play. That would have been arguable. If I had gone to replay or a review, it might well have been an interception, but because I don't know if the tight end had the ball coming down. But that was one call that went our way that didn't get reviewed. We don't get many. Only big call I can think went our way is the Miami game way back in the day, that pass interference call where we got the championship. Other than that, ain't many calls gone our way. Ain't even many calls gone our way on the Clemson game. How many calls went against us in that one Clemson game? Was it a fumble? Wasn't a fumble? The targeting on Trevor Lawrence, I shouldn't have been targeting. So calls don't go our way, and that's pass interference call against Jeremiah was another one that did not go our way. You could argue it was. I've seen more atrocious push-offs that were not called in games. That just seemed like a normal run-of-the-mill play to me. I've seen more egregious examples of receivers pushing off where it went uncalled. They called it. We couldn't overcome it. I think I saw some video replays that Will Howard that actually slid with a second left, which gave us the opportunity to call a timeout and really get the kicker out there. So again, like Ryan Day said, we can't put ourselves in those positions. I said Oregon, they had their mishaps too that we could not take advantage of. And in Oregon, at the end of the day, they took advantage of just enough stuff to come away with the 1 point win. So kudos to them. And then we very well could see these two again in the Big Ten championship game on the neutral field. I honestly believe Ohio State beats them on a neutral field. I think they play to their crowd. What did they say? The home team you're giving 3 to 4 points playing at home. So on the neutral field, I think Ohio State can win a rematch, but you got to get there. You got to get to the rematch. So they got to handle their business the rest of the way. I don't know what Oregon's schedule is, but Ohio State, they do have some stuff. Like say they got to go to Happy Valley. The revenge game against Michigan. I do believe Indiana's on the schedule, and they could be tricky. And I think we got Nebraska next week, who is a vastly improved team. So Ohio State, they got to pick themselves up and get back at it because the season's not over with 12 teams, in particular with 12 teams. They got a shot to make it there, even if they suffer another loss, giving away the rest of the teams are playing out across the country. Alabama does not look that good to me. They very well could have lost today to an unranked South Carolina team. I felt Alabama should have dropped further than what they did, getting pummeled by Vanderbilt, but they only dropped to number 7. I would be shocked if Ohio State falls below Alabama. I'll be. Even with the SEC bias, I would be shocked if Ohio State falls below Alabama, given the outcome of this game and how close it was and how close Ohio State. 2 seconds left on the clock. Ohio State's lining up for a game-winning field goal. So I doubt if they drop that far, because Will Howard. Yes, they do have the talent. Not offensively, yes. Defensively, I'm not so sure. This is not your typical Alabama team. Like I said, Vanderbilt, I don't know if you saw that game, but Vanderbilt pushed them up and down the field. They were more physical than Alabama, and they pushed Alabama's defense up and down the field. So, offensively, Bama has the talent, but defensively, this ain't your same Bama team defensively that we've seen in years past. This gets us, excuse me, Will Howard. Fans drove Kyle McCord away. They wanted Will Howard. They wanted another quarterback here. And as soon as the 2 minute, we got the ball back with 2 minutes left to go, this was the first thing. Can Will Howard do it? They've been waiting for Will Howard to do something all season instead of relying on his folks. And to his credit, in my opinion, Will Howard got the team in position to win. He had an excellent game. He had over 300 yards passing. He was 28 for 35. No interceptions. He made good reads. He was in control of the offense. And I thought he did an excellent job getting us down there in position to win the game. He made the throw. They called the interference on Jeremiah, so it is what it is. But had they not made that call, we're lining up for, what, a 30-something, 35, 40-yard field goal? Maybe take a crack into the end zone. I don't know. But Will Howard, I thought, had an excellent game. He looked calm, poised. And, fans, as Ohio State fans do, they ready to run Will Howard out too, like he did something wrong. Let me just bring up the stats again. Will Howard, I don't know if you can see it, but Will Howard, he had over 300 yards, 28 for 35, over 10 yards per pass completion, 2 touchdowns passing, and then he ran for 1. He had him a good game. Will Howard is not the reason why we lost this game. It's clock management at the end. Should he have ran it? Only 6 seconds left to go in the game. That's debatable. He thought he got down. That's debatable. But I thought all in all, he had an excellent game. He gave us an opportunity to win, and that's what you want your quarterback to do. He didn't make any big mistakes. He was efficient. He picked the ball. He was accurate for the most part with his throws. I mean, like I said, 28 for 35. You can't get much more accurate than that. So he had him a good game. He was not the reason why Ohio State lost this game, I think. But people were waiting to see Will Howard and what he could do in a crunch situation. I thought he performed well. Again, this is why I think Ohio State's still going to be hard to beat the rest of the way. As long as they limit some of their turnovers, that's what's held them back, is the turn, like Judkins fumbling. Even though it really wasn't a fumble, the guy just made a terrific defensive play, ripping it out of his hands. I don't think Will Howard's going to be the reason why we don't win moving forward, and why I think Ohio State is going to be a tough out for the rest of the year, and could very well, to your earlier question, I could very well see us playing Oregon again. Because I'm not so sure. I'm more confident Ohio State will go unbeaten the rest of the way, more so than I am of Oregon. As biased or not, you could call it being biased, be an Ohio State person. But I have more confidence in Ohio State, even given some of their defensive woes that I've discussed. I can see them going undefeated for the rest of the year, more so than Oregon, but maybe not enough to keep Oregon out of a championship game. Like I said, I don't know the rest of Oregon's schedule, but they had the benefit of playing at home. They had some stuff go their way, and so it'll be interesting. It will be interesting to keep tap on that. I have to look at Oregon's schedule and see what else they got on tap for them. But everything's still in front of Ohio State. That's the good thing about this 12 teams. Even though it was 18 playoff, I still think Ohio State. I think 12 teams is just too much, but that's just me. That's another discussion for another day. My 32-31, I'm not as heartbroken about this one as I've been about some of the previous losses in these type of games. I thought they acquitted themselves well when it's all said and done. I think, again, just one call, one bad fumble, one call, whatever you want to say about the ref's call, about that pass interference. They don't make that call. This is probably a different discussion we're having right now, but you made the call and we couldn't recover from it. But all in all, the Ohio State performed well, because people are waiting to see what they're going to do in this type of environment, and were they worth their ranking. I think when it's all said and done, I think they proved they are very much worth their ranking. Again, I don't think they should drop. They'll probably drop them below Georgia because Georgia's SEC, but they should not drop any further than number 5, in my opinion, based on how they treated Bama, who lost to an unranked team, and they just fell to number 7. Ohio State should remain in the top 5. They lost by 1 point on the road to the number 3 team in the nation and had a chance to win in the final seconds, if not for a pass interference call. So that's my take. That's why I ain't too bent out of shape about it. Like I said, with the 12-team playoff, this is easy. It's easier to take this type of loss. And now, had it been a blowout, then yeah, I have some more concerns. But 1 point win on the road, very hostile environment where they don't lose. That's one thing. Oregon does not lose there, and we had a chance to knock them off. That's why on a neutral field, if we get another shot at them, I think Ohio State can take them, but they got some work to do. Texas, while we like this, Ohio State got some work to do. Nebraska, get back on the thing against Nebraska. Don't take them easy. Penn State's going to be a good game. It's at Penn State and of course Michigan, but we got time to discuss some of these other teams. Texas, they look like the top dog in the SEC, but I don't see Georgia beating them because Georgia has issues too. They were 41-31 against Mississippi State. Mississippi State put up 31 points against Georgia. Georgia's not all that this year either. I don't think the year about there's no, the way the games have played out, there's no real dominant team this year. Alabama they don't do it for me. Georgia lost to Alabama. They just don't do it to me. Clemson still got to play Miami. You got an undefeated Pitt team in the ACC. It's going to be interesting. One year we expanded 12 teams. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how everyone jockeys for position moving forward. Because I wouldn't doubt if Bama loses again, because I can easily see them losing again. I think they got LSU on the docket, some other teams on the docket, and unless they shore up their defense. South Carolina had a chance to beat them. They recovered that onside kick and really had a chance to knock off Alabama at Bama. And Bama was supposed to be pissed off following their loss to Vanderbilt, and they damn near lost that game. That's a very average, I won't call them bad, but a very average South Carolina team. So everything's still there for Ohio State because there's no one dominant team. We know Ohio State has the talent. I think Jim Knowles needs to fix up some stuff scheme-wise to get that secondary playing the way we think the secondary should be playing, because right now that looks like the weakest unit on the whole team, and that's including our offensive line. Can Justin Fry get a pat on the back because he had that offensive line playing really, really well? You had the injuries, and like I said, Josh Simmons probably done, so it's next man up. So we see how he's developing these guys. If our offensive line can stay intact, and continue to improve, because Simmons ain't coming back. So whoever the next man up, I think it was Machowski that went in there. So we're gonna need the next person to come in there and perform, and we'll see what kind of a job Justin Fry is really doing and how he's really handling that offensive line, because he's been the one coach that folks want out, but it's been hard to argue with the results of our offensive line again. We had over 140 rushing yards today against Oregon. I know a lot of it came on Trevion's big run, but everything's still there for Ohio State in this expanded playoff field, which is the good and bad of it all. Yes, might be too many teams, but you can take losses like this. these conferences now expanding. You're going to have a more tough games, which I actually like the conference stuff. Where else you're going to get to see Ohio State and Oregon on a regular basis moving forward? It just wasn't going to happen. The way the old conference stuff. So we get to see some more top-notch games like this because of the conference realignment. So be it. I like it. So we'll see. But good game. I think Ohio State showed and proved their ranking. I think they showed they deserve to be in the top 5 even with this loss. And we'll see how Oregon can hold up, because I think they have a loss somewhere on their schedule. They had the benefit. Yes, that's me being biased. I know, but I can very well see these two teams meeting up again in the Big Ten championship game. And depending on how that goes, I can see both teams in the playoffs based on what's going on around other parts of the country, because some of these teams aren't looking all that well. And like I said, some of them still have to play each other. So in some of these other conferences, I think the SEC is going to beat themselves up some more, because Tennessee is going to be a tough out for Bama, Georgia, and whoever else has to play them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this year plays out. And it's going to be interesting to see how Ohio State bounces back from this. I do believe they have Nebraska up next at home, I do believe. So they need to put a beat down on Nebraska. Nebraska's improved defensively, but that's the type of team that's similar to Iowa, in my opinion, may have a little bit more offense. But Ohio State should put a beat down on Nebraska and assert their dominance once again, and let Oregon know we're going to see y'all again in the championship game, as long as y'all hold up y'all end of the bargain. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully next time homeboy won't be spitting on people. That was just a classless act. I had to just comment on that. I've never seen that. I think one time in my whole time watching football, I've never seen anyone do that, spit on another player. That's just classless, and I ain't gonna take away from their win, because they probably gonna forget about it by the end of the day. But that was just a classless act, in my opinion. But hopefully Ohio State will have a chance to make that up and see these guys again. So again, thank you guys for checking in. Wanted to do a live stream. I'm gonna try to do a lot more of these live streams as opposed to just doing recordings and posting them, and try to get out there and like to try to do more here in 2024, trying to grow this out. So again, if you're liking this one, check out some of my other stuff. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Trying to grow it out. It grew a lot last year in 2023. Like I said, baby steps. So I'm trying to do more here in 2024 and expand my audience. I do know more about stuff than just Ohio State. I do know a little bit more stuff about college sports in general that I'm gonna try and touch upon, and we're gonna get into some more stuff, podcasts, live streams. We're gonna try and do it all, and hopefully, like I said, moving forward, Ryan Day can right the ship, because this ain't getting it for folks. Ryan Day, it ain't getting it. To some folks, you enter in that John Cooper territory, and we don't want to be talking about that in the future. So get your stuff together, and hopefully you can win the Big Ten and get back up there. But we will discuss that and touch upon that as that day hopefully approaches. But for right now, they got to get ready for Nebraska. If you're watching this live, please thank you. Thank you for checking it out and giving the brother a chance to yap a little bit about this. And until next time, OHIO, go Bucks. I'm out. Appreciate all of y'all.